27 minutes and 29 seconds is what that rant became yesterday that I did. I'm so close to deleting it because it's just a rant. It's just me saying the same stuff I've said before. And as it was pointed out to me on Facebook, this person, Exalted Dirt, was just another troll. And I don't know why it bothers me so much. I guess it just does when somebody tells me that my whole life was that I wasn't real for my whole life. When I have tried my whole life. I've tried very hard my whole life to be real, to be who I am. So anyway, I made an analogy in that big, long rant that I'm sure not very many people have 27 minutes and 29 seconds to listen to. Besides, it takes about a minute to figure out that I'm just saying what I've said already before. But I came up with an analogy in that rant that I'm like, that's a good analogy. At least I guess it is. It makes sense to me. And I kind of wanted to try to expand on it a little bit. This guy, Exalted Dirt, tells me that I was never born again. This is getting so amazingly old. I am so tired of this stupid argument. You were never born again because you're not a Christian now. Oh, that just apparently means everything that I did in my time as a Christian was fake. All the times that I went along believing in my heart of hearts that I was saved and that Jesus was in my heart and my Lord and Savior, that was all fake. I'm so tired of that. I'm tired of feeling like I have to defend something that really, honestly, none of this person's business, but whatever. So I got a little sidetracked into rants, lots of swearing, lots of sarcasm. You know, I do sarcasm pretty well. So, the analogy, and I'm going to kind of expand on it, is I have depression. No, that's true. I do have depression, but this is the analogy. We're going to say it's like I have depression, let's say somebody has depression, and they embrace every little thing that makes them sad to fuel the depression, because the depression is a part of who they are, and it's a part of it's familiar, so it's comfortable. So being depressed, even though it's miserable and it makes them miserable and makes everybody around them miserable, they embrace it because it's familiar, and familiar, it has a strange way of comforting you, right? So the person has depression and it colors their life in a negative way, and they're sad a lot. So, you know what, this is not really going the way I wanted it to go. The analogy I made yesterday is, you really truly believe you can fly. Okay, I see how this fits into my new analogy. I'm trying to make a new analogy from the one I made yesterday that I thought was kind of sort of good. Okay. So you truly believe you want to die. We're back to the depression analogy. You're depressed, and it's become a part of you. It's who you are. You're the victim. You walk around, you see yourself as a victim. Nobody loves you. Everybody's out to get you. Life's just never been fair for you. All these things that you like to think in your head to fuel the depression. And you decide you want to kill yourself because, well, what can happen? Either you'll be dead and you won't have to feel bad anymore, or you'll get a lot of attention from friends. Maybe people will be nice to you that weren't nice, and you want them to feel bad. So you decide you're going to kill yourself. So you go up to second story building because you're not really very brave and you're terrified of heights. And you throw yourself off the building. And you get really, really fucked up because of it. And you're in the hospital and you're fighting for your life. And then you realize, while you're laying there fighting for your life, that your life matters to you. And you feel you're worth more than that. You basically have a change of heart. And you realize that your life is precious, and that you're precious, and that we only have a short time on this earth. So you have a change of heart. You realize you were wrong. You realize that you just realize you're wrong. You have a change of heart. So you decide you're going to start to fight the depression. You're going to start to fight it with all you have in you. I just fucked up my... There. And you go to therapy, and you get on meds, and it makes you fat. You know, and you have to uncover things about your past that really hurt. And you have to go through all this battle to get better, because you really realize that your life is worth it, and you don't want to go back there. You don't want to go back to feeling miserable and being the walking victim and bringing everybody else down because you're, you know. And then one day you run into somebody who has depression, and you've just come out of this very deep, very dark rabbit hole, as a friend of mine called it. And they tell you, oh, you never really had depression. You never really had depression, because if you really had depression, you wouldn't be better now. You wouldn't be better. You wouldn't be feeling so good. You wouldn't have this new lease on life that you keep talking about. Because if you really had depression, you would have died when you jumped off the bridge. If you really had depression, you would have gone to the 10th story instead of the 2nd story and jumped off from the 10th story if you really had depression. No, you didn't really have depression. You were just walking around pretending to have depression to get people to, you know, be your friend or feel sorry for you or whatever, but you didn't really have depression. That would be kind of like, I mean, that's kind of, I think that's kind of like what this guy is saying to me when he says you were never born again. Because I got better. I was never sick. That's essentially what he's telling me. Because because I got better, I had some good good wake up therapy. Because I got better from what I consider now to be a mental illness, I never had the illness. That's what this guy is telling me. And I think if there's anything of value in the rant that I did yesterday, was the jumping off the roof part, except that was a much more simplified version of what I just tried to say. The rant I say, it's like you go to the top of a first story building and you think you can fly, and you flap your wings really, really hard. You flap your wings. You flap your arms really, really, really hard, and you jump off the first story building and you fall and you hurt yourself, and then you don't believe you can fly anymore and you don't try anymore. But then some neighbor comes up to you and says, oh, well, you didn't really believe you could fly, because if you really believed you could fly, you would have flown. So that was my analogy in the rant yesterday, and I thought I could try to come up with something similar that was a little bit more like what I was trying to say. So anyway, again, it's a morning and my voice isn't awake, and so I'm thinking about deleting the rant. I probably won't, because again, I think that Christians need to know, especially the troll types like this guy, who just think it's fun to go damn it, go onto atheist websites, YouTube channels, with this holier than thou attitude, this self-righteous, oh, I'm way up here and I'm reaching down a hand to help you to my level attitude. What you do, how you piss people off, well, if they're trolls, I guess that's what they're trying to do, right, is piss people off. But you're also turning people off from the supposed thing that you think is good. Which, again, I don't think it's good, and I think that if you truly wanted to know God, you wouldn't hide behind a few fluffy little verses. You would read the entire Bible. You know, if I were God, I would not be impressed by anybody who claimed to love me, but then didn't bother to want to try to know me. And the way to know God is to read the Word of God. To read, well, it's not, but that's what Christians call it. To read the Bible, to read this book that they want to say is inspired by God. You want to know Him, read the whole thing. And don't just read it because the way your church wants you to read it, but read it through objective lenses. Read it like you've never read it, you've never seen it before, and you have no preconceived ideas about it. Read it like that. Read it like, imagine you're an unbeliever, and none of the things in the Bible are a given. That, it's the first time you're being introduced to these ideas. Read it like that, and then say that this is a good and loving God. But you don't, because it's like, you don't really want to know Him. You just want to know the little version of Him that you've come up with in your mind and say that that's good. So that's it. I just wanted to try to make something from yesterday's rant. And yeah, I think I'll leave it up because I think Christians need to know that, you know what, atheists are human beings and they feel things, and their experiences in life are valid too, and they're valid to them. So like a friend of mine on one of my subs said this morning, I made it very clear that quoting from a book doesn't make any impression on me whatsoever. So you don't keep doing that after I say that. You try to explain your opinion maybe in your own words, Give me your own thoughts on the subject. So, okay, I'm going to end this because it's starting to go nowhere. If you've been watching, thank you very much. Bye.